Hi everyone, it's Ashley with Go and Crochet, and for today I am doing something I haven't done for a little while now. I am going over 8 free patterns from Instagram that you guys can go ahead and make right now if you want to, because they're free. And I'm just going to go through these patterns, give a little review, give anything that I did different or any suggestions or changes I would make to the pattern, I guess you could say. And let's go ahead and get right into things because I have lots of cute little designs to share with you guys. I'm going to start with my first one. So I'm going to go from smallest to biggest. And so many of them are fairly small. I have a couple that are slightly bigger. So the first one is this Flower Baby by Red Mills Crochet. And I think this is just so cute. I think this is perfect. I think this is a perfect pattern for a market, very market friendly. No sew, it works up pretty quick. I mean, this one took me probably about 20 minutes, but that is just because I was learning the pattern and I also embroidered the eyes. You can do this pattern with safety eyes, but I'm trying to do more of embroidery on most of my items. So yeah, this one is super cute, super quick to work up, no issues with it. I think maybe the only thing I had to change on the pattern was the bobble stitches, just placement of those, but it tells you when to do the color change. I mean, you could have these in a little bucket with all of the little flowers poking out, and then it's like a little surprise of a little flower baby when you pull it out. So I really think this is a cute pattern. I feel like you could do this in so many different colors, pretty quick for a market. You could sell it for a good price. And I think the profit margin would be there since it is so quick. It doesn't use a lot of yarn and it's just super cute. Perfect for spring, summer vibes. The next item I created, I've been wanting to make this one for quite some time now, and this is Ted the Thick Toad by Crochet and Canadian Rue. And I mean, come on, look at this booty. This guy has a big old booty. So much fun. It's harder to see because I did use a darker green color, but I think he's just so cute. He's so chunky and he's just got that big old booty, and he's just a lot of fun. Very quick once again. Maybe changes would be bobble stitches, but I feel like a lot of those patterns, if you just adjust the bobble stitches based off of the look of it, it's gonna be fine. Just look at the picture, figure it out, and it will work out. That was the only issue I had with this, maybe is adjusting, not the second bobble stitch, but the third one down. I think I just had to adjust it a little bit. I did use safety eyes for him, just because I felt like with such dark yarn, I needed to put the safety eyes in so they would be seen better. But I think you could do this with just embroidered eyes as well, and you wouldn't have any issues. The next one I made was this mini seagull, and this is by MIP.creates. And I love this pattern. I think it is so cute. My husband thought this was really sweet. He said I should just do like a handful of these. Only issue with this is I feel like this one not quite as market friendly because it is so little, and it took me probably an hour to make this guy. You do have to sew on the wings. The beak is crocheted within the round. It did a surface crochet for the legs. I feel like if you did use a larger size yarn, this is with Parfait Chunky. If you did use a larger yarn, I think you could get more value for your time. But if you're doing just a teeny tiny little make like this, probably not the most market friendly project to make. Like these two, super market friendly, very quick to make. This guy, maybe not as market friendly. You're not gonna get as much profit margin out of him, but man, isn't he cute? My kiddo said I should give him a little French fry, so I'll probably give him a little French fry. I did make a second one of these because I did like him so much. So if you're not too concerned about your time, then yeah, definitely make him. So sweet, so cute. He does sit up on his own as well. I really love him. But yeah, maybe not the most market friendly. for time, but if you're not concerned about your time, definitely do him. He's so cute. He's, I think, one of my favorites. Next pattern I did is this baby dragonfly, and this is by Hook Crochet Co. And so this does involve some sewing. So you do have to sew on all 4 of the wings. The body is all one piece, and then you surface crochet the antennas. I did add embroidered eyes onto this one instead of safety eyes again. And I think I accidentally sewed one of the longer wings in the wrong place. The only thing I would say with this one is you do have to sew, and if you're using Parfait Chunky and it's all close sewing like this, it doesn't always come out the best because you have all those little extra strands poking out. Like I have one right here that I have to fix. But I think that you would be able to come up with a way to surface crochet these wings on instead. I would have to play around with it to do that, but I wanted to make it true to the pattern, and so I did it the way it called for. Very cute, very simple-ish on speed because you do have to make each wing separately. So it is maybe a little bit longer of a make, and you do have to sew it on, so that does take a little bit more time. Am I gonna make 1,000 of these? I don't think so. But it is a cute project, especially if you have someone in your life that loves dragonflies. I think it's a cute one to do. I think if you did this in like a worsted weight yarn, it would be a really sweet keychain. If you put the keychain like right here, I think that would be a really sweet little keychain to make. It's not my favorite, but it was very easy to follow. The instructions were very well written, so I think maybe it's just not my favorite because of my color choice. And the wings, I think I put them on and I put the wrong one down on the bottom, but it is still a very good, well-written pattern. So just because it's not my favorite doesn't mean that it can't be your favorite. So definitely give it a try if you are looking for a dragonfly pattern and you want a free one. This is a great one to try out. The next one, I think I really love this pattern. I'm probably not going to make it 1,000 times over because it does take a lot of time, but it is this Low Sew Crab by My Yarn Spo. I love this crab because it is so lifelike. I am surprised that this was a free pattern because they made that shell look so real. I think this is the most lifelike crab I have ever seen for crocheting. It did give me a little bit of trouble up at the top, but that was just my own interpretation of the pattern. It wasn't the pattern itself. It just took me a second to kind of figure out what they were asking for, which I was able to figure out by the pictures. I think sometimes I go a little bit too quickly when I go into a pattern and I just want to get it over with. So I just kind of start it and don't look ahead, and then I get myself into a little situation where I'm like, wait, hold on, what am I doing wrong? But once I figured that out, it definitely wasn't a pattern issue. It was a me issue. I wasn't paying attention. And I think my legs are slightly off on one side, and once again that was a me issue, not the patterns issue. So they're slightly slanted, but I could have corrected that very easily. I think I just did one extra stitch on this side and it made it a little bit crooked. You do have to sew the two claws, the front claws, onto this pattern, and everything else is no sew. I did use the safety eyes for this as well because I thought it would look better with safety eyes rather than being embroidered. But I really do love this pattern. It did take me a long time to make it though. For the size that it is and the length of time it took me to make it, maybe not the most friendly pattern for a market, but definitely a must make if you have someone in your life that loves crabs and that or if you love crabs, I think this is a great pattern. And I definitely think that the more you did this pattern, the quicker you could become at it if you did really want to make it for markets. My husband said I should do a bunch of like coastal animal type of items, and that's why I kind of went with like the seagull and the crab. I'm doing much more of like water related creatures, and so this one would fit in with that theme if you are going for that like nautical theme. So I really do love this pattern. I would definitely say not going to make a ton of these for my markets, but it is one of my more favorite items that I have made within these 8. So very cool, fun, and very clever. Like I said, I'm very surprised that this is a free pattern because it is a very clever way of how to make this shell. I've never seen it before, and very smart thinking. I love the creation of this. What a wonderful design. The next pattern I made was this opossum by Dolly's Crochet Shop MK, and this one was a lot of fun, although it does have a lot of sewing. So you make the head, you make the legs within the body, so that is all one piece here. You make the arms separate, ears separate, and then you surface crochet the tail, and you have to crochet the muzzle as well. I went with embroidered eyes for this guy. It calls for safety eyes once again, but I am trying to do less of that, as I keep saying. And so very cute, but it does take a little bit longer because of all the sewing of the pieces. I think that you could probably work it so that if you really wanted to make it a little bit quicker, you could crochet the arms on first and then just crochet them within the round. They just wouldn't be as like secure pushing out as, so they would be a little bit maybe more floppy arms. I feel like the ears you could also crochet within the head if you really wanted to, but it's a simple sewing within the pattern, so it's not like it's a problem to sew if you don't mind doing a little bit of sewing. It's easy sewing. It's not a very big project, so the sewing doesn't take a super huge amount of time. But I do like how he turned out. I do try to keep at least one opossum at each market because I feel like they are a very popular item to have. And for the size of him and the length of time it took me to make him, I don't think he's too horrible of an idea to have for markets, especially if you did it in a Bernat blanket yarn and you could make him even bigger. I think you could definitely do this as a market make, to make a couple of them for the market, and I think it would be a good one to have in a market. So yeah, this one was fun. No issues with him. Oh, I do have to say, I did notice, I didn't mention this earlier, I forgot to mention it, but I did notice there was one little typo in Ted the Thick Toad. I think it was in the last round of the baubles. There is one little typo. It says 910, so it looks like a 910. Single crochets on the last part of that round, where I think it was only supposed to be 9 or 10. So I didn't actually count. I just went until they just accidentally put 9, 10 when they were adjusting the pattern. So when they were adjusting the pattern, they probably forgot to delete one of them and put the other numbers in. But that was the only issue I had with this pattern. So I just did want to note that before I moved on. Next pattern up is Ida the Baby Duck by Spree Berry, and she looks like she's waving right now. So cute. So the head and body are all one piece, and then you have to sew on the legs, the wings, the beak, and the little tail. Once again, it calls for safety eyes. I chose to embroider the eyes. I think I sewed the beak a little too low and crooked. I think I should have made it more round instead of wide, but it didn't have super specific placement for the beak. It did have better placements for the wings, the tail and the feet. But for the beak, it didn't have a super specific placement. So I just went by the picture, and I think I just put it a little bit too low. I would like it a little bit higher on that head to make it look a little bit better. But other than that one little issue, this was a very easy pattern to make. Once again, you do have to sew on pieces. So if you don't like sewing, probably not the best one for you to do, but it did turn out pretty cute, and it didn't take super long for the size of it to make. And once again, this is with Parfait Chunky. All of these that I have shown you so far are with Parfait Chunky, and it's a good size. So I think if you did like a Bernat blanket yarn, it would be even bigger and more bang for your buck. The last pattern I did was this Snoozing Goose, and I have been wanting to make this Snoozing Goose for a long time. It has been on my list of things to make for a very long time. As you can see, I changed my goose up into a flamingo instead of a goose. But I definitely think that this is a great one to make. I have made a similar pattern of this before. I haven't made this pattern before, but I made a similar pattern like this before, and I made it in mallard colors, and it sold at the first market I brought it to. So I think this would be a very good one to have for a market, and I think it's a cute one that you could make look really sweet with a display. The wings are crocheted separate and then crocheted within the round. So all of this is one piece, and the wings are crocheted within that round, which makes it even better because you don't have to sew those wings on and try to figure out placement. You just have to make sure when you are doing it, the head, you're watching the increase, decrease for the head so you get the right shaping, and it does note that in the pattern. And it also has these legs. Oh, I forgot to tell you who this is by. This is by Crochet Crochet, Daria Handmade, and One Crochet. I'll have all of these patterns linked down below so you can go find them. But yeah, this one was definitely fun, cute, and interesting to make. I did do some color changing differently. This is all supposed to be white within the pattern, and then I did change up the color here before I changed it to the beak color, which it doesn't call for, but I just kind of used my own judgment to make it look more flamingo-like. But this one is a fun one to make. I can't remember, I believe, yeah. And then the legs are just surface crocheted on. So really, honestly, it's a no-sew pattern if you look at it that way, because these are surface crocheted on, and all of this is one piece. So it works up pretty quick. I think you could make a handful of these guys, all in different colors, to do like a flamingo, a mallard duck, a goose, and you could even do different colored gooses, like geese. You could do like a Canadian goose and then just a white goose or a swan. So you could have a lot of fun with colors on this, and I think they would be pretty popular and quick for your market, especially with that Bernat blanket yarn. It's a good size. And so I would say this is definitely another one of my favorites out of all of the creations I have made today. This is one of the top. So let's just go over one more time what I made. I've made this sweet little flamingo Snoozing Goose, this little duck, the opossum, and as you can see, the sizing changes, the crab, and then these 4 creations that are just itty bitty and cute. I definitely went with a bird theme today, haven't I? I have lots of birds in here. But here we go, all of the little creations I have made. And so fun, cute, simple. I would suggest all of these patterns if you don't like sewing. Obviously, I told you which ones to avoid if you're not a sewer. But if you don't mind doing a little bit of sewing, then these would all be great creations to make. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all of these little creations. Let me know down in the comments below which one of these guys is your favorite with maybe an emoji, or just say which one you liked the best. If you've made any of these, let me know which one you made. If you know any other patterns you'd like me to try out for another review, let me know that as well. So all kinds of stuff you can comment down below. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to talk to you guys all on the next one. So I'll see you all later. Bye.